Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, we're going to talk getting started with Warhammer 40,000, and today we're going to take a look at Space Marines, and in particular, the Silver Templars Space Marine chapter. Now in this video, what we're going to go through is we're going to talk about the Silver Templars as a chapter, what exactly special rules and chapter tactics we get for this army. We'll then take a look at units we can start off our Silver Templars force with before exploring other units we can use to expand upon those initial purchases for our Silver Templars force. Finally, at the end of the video, we will show you a little sample 1000 point army list of Silver Templars to put this all into practice for you to use as some inspiration to create your own Silver Templars army. Now, with this all said, the Silver Templars army rules are available in White Dwarf. They were released a little while ago. You can find them on things like Wikipedia, and I do believe they are in the Warhammer Vault now in one of the many White Dwarfs. They are an Ultramarine successor, so you do get all these rules in addition to the rest of your Ultramarine rules that you can use, and you got access to them as well. But also, they are a Primaris only chapter, so it is, while not restricted to being Primaris only, it is advised that you only ever use Primaris Space Marines in this army to fit the narrative of the Force. On top of this, we get the cool chapter tactic called the Bond Marshal. Now, each time we use this chapter tactic, each model in the unit makes an elite attack against a biker or infantry unit. The unmodified hit roll of a 6 automatically wounds the target, so really nice. And each time a unit is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll one hit roll when resolving that unit's attack. So once again, just some nice sort of benefits. Now, the automatic wounding of the 6s is only in combat, but we do get to reroll the hit when resolving both either shooting or fighting, which is really, really nice. So one reroll per unit, and then, getting automatic 6s to wound in combat is nice. This lends us to potentially going with, more attacks in close combat, and generally going with better value guns at range. So an Ultramarine successor, which is sort of like an all-round in the Ultramarines, but these guys have a little bit of a lean towards close combat, which is really cool. And so, where to begin? We're going to look at a Primaris Lieutenant to begin with. So, we do get automatic 6s to do wounds. However, this means that, our wounds have a little bit more value. Yes, you could go for a captain, but I don't think he serves the purposes fully, and he is a little bit more expensive, harder to fit into those first 1,000 point lists. I think a lieutenant actually is going to give you the rerolls to wound, which means those that don't go through automatically are going to have more of a chance to go through in the end, which I think is nice. We can get reroll hits if we choose to go down the captain route instead, but I think there's some ways we can work around that in the army list later that we'll show you in the video. There are a ton of different cool Primaris Lieutenant miniatures around the place that have come out as limited edition, special edition models over the years. I know everyone that likes to joke and put a little bit of hate on the Primaris Lieutenants and how many of them we've got, but there are some really cool miniatures in amongst that set. Now, alongside this model, Primaris Assault Intercessors, I think, are the go-to option for me. They've got some decent ranged weapons in their heavy bolt pistols, which are really cool, but they also have a lot of close combat attacks. Not necessarily the highest value close combat attacks, generally at their sort of base strength, but they do put out a decent amount of them, which I think is where this comes into it. Getting a lot of attacks, potentially rolling a lot of 6s to auto wounds. You're sort of just going for weight of dice with this army, which is pretty cool. It's a nice way to sort of play your Marines. You, of course, can go for a couple of higher strength weapons like a Thunderhammer or a Power Fist on your Sergeants in there to really make more use of things. But all in all, I think these are just pretty cool to have available to you, and probably the best place to start with your Silver Templars force. And so, where to go next? Well, the next thing I want to talk about is the Primaris Ancient. This is an elite option for Space Marine forces, and the reason I like this is because we do have a particular relic that I think is really nice on a Primaris Ancient. This is called the Banner of Echoes. It's a relic that replaces his normal banner, and while a friendly Silver Templars Primaris core unit is within 6 inches of the bearer, you can add one to the attacks characteristic of that unit. So this is just really good for getting more attacks out of the units we've already got in our Primaris force. Going to really start to up those Assault Intercessors into something really, really nice. Now, alongside him, we are going to have a Primaris Chaplain. I rate this model a lot. For me, any combat sort of focused Space Marine force really benefits from having a Chaplain in their force. He's got abilities to benefit them in combat. He can use different litanies to give more shooting. He can use different litanies to power up himself. Just a very versatile model. He's got a slightly better weapon than your average sort of chainsword wielder in the force, which is nice as well, getting a little bit of extra strength into your force. And he can also be mounted on a bike to make him much more mobile on the battlefield and add a little bit more shooting power to him. Alongside this model, we have Outriders. They've got some really cool stuff that makes them nice to fit in with what we're doing with Silver Templars. First of all, they've got the Astartes Chainsword there for, base sort of strength, 4 attacks at -1 AP, damage 1. They get an additional attack when they fight with a weapon. On top of that, they have Devastating Charge, where each time if they fight and they've made a charge in the same turn, they add 2 to their attacks characteristic, meaning you go up to a nice 4 attacks per model, 5 with your chainsword, and another 1 on there for the sergeant. Putting out a ton of attacks at a really fast movement of 14, just able to zip around the battlefield with that chaplain in their support if he goes on a bike as well. Toughness 5 is really nice, 4 wounds apiece, 3 up save. Just a solid unit to have inside your Primaris Space Marine force. Lastly, I want to talk about the Redemptor Dreadnought, because no Space Marine force is ever complete without having a look at this amazing piece. It can be equipped to be dealing with either hordes or dealing with more heavy armor. It can even be equipped to sort of deal with both in a sort of dual role, and that's generally how I like to equip my Redemptor Dreadnought. For me, the Macroplasma Incinerator at strength 8, -4 AP, damage 2 blast weapon is great. Deals with other Space Marines. It also does really well at shooting at other tanks, because you can overcharge it to make it Heavy D6 strength 9, -4 AP, damage 3 instead. Its Icarus Rocket Pod's nice for Heavy D3 strength 7, -1 AP, damage 2, and it can have a heavy flamer on it as well, and Fragstorm grenade launchers. It's got the Duty Eternal, where it subtracts 1 from the damage characteristic when it gets targeted, and it's got some other cool abilities and access to a stratagem which will allow you to use the Captain's ability to give reroll hit rolls of 1 around within 6 inches of it, which is really, really nice, just enabling this model to be another sort of buff piece while also being a damage dealer in the force. And so, lastly, here we have a sample army list of Silver Templars for you all. We've gone for a patrol detachment. We're not spending any CP because our Warlord is in the detachment, which is really cool. Now, we've got our Primaris Chaplain on bike, who's going to have the Excoriation over a Rage ability for his litany. If this litany is successfully done, you prick a friendly core unit or character within 6 inches of the priest, and you add 1 to their attack's wound roll. This is really nice because, once again, we're going to get auto wounds on 6s to hit. This is going to help those wounds get through that a little bit more that don't get the 6s to hit. Now, we've gone for the Warlord trait Accomplished Duelist, where it fights first, and also he's going to get some other abilities on him as well, which are really nice. So he fights first at the command phase, and if this model is within engagement range in enemy units, and then each time the Warlord makes a melee attack, if it's made a charge move, was charged, or performed a heroic action, he can reroll his wound rolls. Really, really nice stuff. Then got a Primaris Lieutenant, just with a Mastercrafted Power Sword in there to give some nice buffs around. 2 units of Assault Intercessors, both there. They'll be just standard, no extra weapons on them. 2 units of 10, this is going to be the main sort of push of the force, getting in, doing a lot of attacks out of them. We then have our Primaris Ancient with the Banner of Echoes in there to get more attacks into those Assault Intercessors, and then a Redemptor Dreadnought with the Icarus Rocket Pod and Macroplasma Incinerator. And finally, filling out the list, we have 3 Outriders, including the Sergeant. 1,000 points, 51 power level, 6 CP to begin the game with. This is a solid little force for Space Marines to get you started with them in Warhammer 40k if you particularly like the Silver Templars and everything they're about in all the narrative. For me, this is a fun Space Marine force. This is going to go really well into some opposing hordes. It might struggle against more mechanized armies, but against something like Tyranids or even Orcs and stuff like that are going to run a lot of bodies on the table, this would be a really fun Space Marine force to run in, fight, and kill a ton of infantry models on the table. If you've played with Silver Templars in Warhammer 40k, let us know down in the comments below what you've been doing and how you've been going down in the comments below, please. And so that is the end of the video. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment down below and let us know what you enjoyed about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our little community here at Sinful Gaming, we've got a link to our Discord server down in the video's description. And if you'd like to help support the channel in another way, you can do so either by joining Patreon or YouTube members, or purchasing something from our Ko-fi web store. All of them are linked in the video's description. Thank you all for everyone who chooses to help support the channel. As a special thank you to those people who have supported via Patreon and YouTube members, we'd like to give a special shout out to them all. So a shout out to our patrons Christian Weir, James, Soren, Greenskins Gaming, AJC, Kenny Lowe, Alarin Shop First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, Anton Nilsson, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Dyna226, Derek, and GRP390. A special thank you to our YouTube members, Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Chris Wallace, Ronya, Vinny, Lock Lorick, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Revenar, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Sean Scott, Pink Nico Fire, and Robin Mankiller as well. Lastly, a special shout out, first of all, to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel you see, and to Xmorphic, who has done an amazing job at setting up our Discord server for her and making us have a nice place to content and to chat with all of our community. Thank you all for watching once again, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.